Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. It's been a very long time. We took like a 2, 3 week hiatus from this
Whoa,
channel.
at
Yeah,
least, man.
at
At
least.
least,
Yeah.
buddy.
It's been a long break, a lot of busy times for us. I had exams. Season was at its end. We were doing some closing remarks. We had a nice little dinner with the team. And
That's
yeah,
right.
we got some interesting things to talk about regarding the NHL hockey and obviously BCIHL hockey. But Matt, how are you doing before we get into all this great stuff?
Reese, I'm doing good. Good to be with you again, man. Nice to be
Heck
back
yeah.
on In the Corners.
Absolutely.
Um, this is a summer workout edition, you got
Oh
to
yeah.
call it. Things are going good. There's like spring is totally happening, summer's happening. There's construction on my street.
Yep.
There's a lot going on in the hockey world. I'm
That's
really
for sure.
excited today to get into the new Vikes and to just chop it up with you, hear your NHL theories, of course.
Yep.
I'm feeling fresh. So glad to be back, man. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm happy. Getting some final things moved out here, selling some furniture, and yeah, gonna be heading back to Ontario in the next couple weeks for the big move. But doesn't mean coverage won't stop. But yeah, it's a busy time around my end. That's for sure.
Yeah. How did your
Yep.
studies wrap up? You're all in one piece?
All in one piece. We barely got through it, but we got through it, and
Good
yeah,
job, man. That's
yeah,
how you do
good.
it. You got to go into
Finally,
playoff mode, right?
exactly.
You got to
Yep,
go into
that's where
playoff
we're at.
mode. You got to get the puck in and get it back. That's how
Yeah.
you get that's how you do your final exams, right? You got to show
Yep.
some determination, desire, will, and you got to go post to post right in front of the goalie.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You got to rip. You got to rip top cheddar sometimes. When it comes to grades, it's not going to be able just a little floater right by the logo. No, you're going to have to snipe. You're going to have to get lucky. You're going
You
to have
got
to
it.
put that work in. But speaking of playoff hockey, let's start off with that. So you got that wonderful Oilers mug. That's
Yes,
been
I do.
Canada's team for sure in this playoffs. As much as the Jets and the Leafs obviously have their great passionate fan bases, but the Oilers have been seen even before the playoffs started, and especially during that they're probably the most likely candidate for getting the cup back here in Canada, right? So the expectations for the Leafs was just to get through that first round, and they did, which is great. And obviously, Leaf fans and tons of, including me as a Habs fan, wearing my Habs shirt right now, my
There you
Jay Weber.
go.
But yeah, as a Habs fan, I thought, well, I mean, as soon as you get through that first round, you beat the former Stanley Cup champions two Pete, and then they were also in the final last year. So as soon as you get
Yeah.
through them, I mean, who can stop them? Well, Florida had something very serious to say about that because as of today, it's Wednesday, so Game 4 is tonight for the Leafs.
Yes.
They're down 3-0 to the team that no one had in the second round. The Bruins just come flying out of nowhere and just kind of look like last year's Boston. I mean, definitely not having Bergeron for those first couple of games hurt, but yeah, they find themselves in a game 7 situation, and anything can happen. And here we are now. The Panthers, the greatest after the greatest regular season record we've ever seen in history.
Right.
They just come out and they beat them in 7, and so far they're looking like that same team that beat Boston, just checking all over the place, killer in the neutral zone, and just not fancy, just putting all the pressure, putting every team on their heels every time, and they're doing that to the Leafs right now. That's what put them in this position where they could sweep them, tonight. So obviously, as a Habs fan, my rivalry was set aside because previously they had traded out their first round pick for this year's draft for Ben Sherratt, which is a defender that they don't have anymore in Florida. He actually got traded to Florida. So we still have that first overall pick. And if the Leafs were to beat out since if the Leafs were to beat out Florida in this round,
Right.
we would get the 17th overall pick. The Canadians would get the 17th overall
Oh, so
pick.
you're
And the
rooting
reason
rooting
being,
for the Leafs.
I'm rooting for the Leafs. I need them to win.
You
And
animal.
so far, I've done nothing but mush them because, I mean, they look horrible. But there has
Yeah.
only been 4 teams, I'm pretty sure, 4 teams to come back from 3-0. And I feel like that would be something to get that fan base just going crazy if they could find a way to bring it back. We'll go into predictions a little bit later, but yeah, Carolina beats out the Islanders. Not too shocking there. Most people had that one. And then the Devils beat out the Rangers. They go down 2 and they look like it's
Right.
over against the Rangers. I mean, I had the Rangers going to the final, so way off there. And Yeah, and the Devils just became, after game 3, they just became that team that they were in the regular season, unlike Boston could, right? So, and then on the other side, you obviously had the tightest series. I felt like this was going to be one of the best, most competitive series in the playoffs this year, which was LA versus Edmonton. And it really was when you watch those games. There was a couple
Right.
blowouts here and there, but it was just, it felt evenly matched. They got it done in 6, which is huge for the Oilers. Shows their willpower and their capabilities. But Nurse, by the way, Darnell Nurse, no, scratch him. But yeah, moving on to
Not a
the other
fan.
round there.
Reese is not a fan.
No, not a fan, especially this year.
Okay.
Wow. Um, Vegas takes the Jets. No one was surprised there. Just Vegas with Jack Eichel and Mark Stone came back. It's just a
The
scary
Jets,
team.
they're kind of falling apart a little bit, hey?
I think you're onto
They're kind
something.
of screws and nuts and bolts, and their tires are a little bit flat there because the
You're
coach
right.
is popping off, and the
Yep.
captain, he's going up to the microphone blaming the coach, and that's I like the drama, But
It
when you
is
get
good.
your team, when you get your drama, you start blaming one another, then your team is going down.
That's, yeah, you're right, and I think that was definitely the fall of them this year. They were matched up against a very hard team in Vegas, and that's proving
Yep.
right now with base how they played against the Oilers in these first 3 games. But yeah, the Jets, their stars just simply didn't show up. They didn't show up as much as they could have. Shifley, they put up points, but they just weren't there in those most difficult moments. And Pierre-Luc Dubois, who had a good playoff and a great season, but he's a guy whose agent put out before he even signed that contract in the Jets that his agent says he only wants to play for one team, and that's in his home province of Montreal. He said that since Columbus. His agent has made it. This is actually one of the first times that a player has come out and pretty much said clearly which team they want to play for, through their agent. So that definitely takes away from the morale of those stars. He's definitely one of their bigger players, their first line center, second line even, and he was fine, but that effort level is always going to be lagging a little bit behind when everybody knows in the back of their head this guy doesn't really want to be here. So we'll see how that turns out. That'll be a very interesting story going into next year.
They got a good goalie there too. I've got my eye on the Hellebuck. What happens with him?
They can't lose him because some other team will pay him upwards of $8 million for 8 years. He's
Speaking
one
of
of the best in the
goalies,
world.
someone told me that Dallas has the best goalie left. I see you're going up to those other series as well. Keep it going, Reese, and tell me what's happening.
Well, for the Minnesota Dallas series,
Right.
I thought it was going to be very evenly matched. I think that one ended in 6-2. I'm not completely sure. I could look it up quick here, but yeah, that series was closely contended. They had a little bit of a goalie situation in Minnesota with Marc-Andre Fleury and Gustafson being the young guy and Fleury being obviously the experienced guy. And they definitely, due to a lot of people's opinions, they made a lot of flip-flopping between goaltenders, which I don't think helped them. Minnesota's an up-and-coming team, though. I don't think we've heard the last of them. They have a lot of good assets, some assets that'll need to go. So, it'll be very conditional what the GM can do with that team, but they have a lot of talent. Obviously, their biggest star, Kirill Kaprizov, he's impossible to stop. When he's on against any team. And last but not least, the shocking, I don't think anybody on earth predicted this one.
Go on.
Seattle beats out Colorado, which is just a shocker. And I had, Colorado going to the semis to face off against Edmonton. But no, Seattle, very similar case to Florida. They just check. They're everywhere. They work hard and they play as a unit, basic hockey. And they kind of took advantage of an injured Colorado team. When you look down at that lineup, you'll notice there's a lot of guys missing, especially by missing their captain Landeskog. You just can't have those guys missing. So yeah, Dallas and Seattle are the matchup so far, and they look as evenly matched as ever. Both teams, having games where they dominate. Last night there was a 6-3, I'm pretty sure 6-3 win for the Dallas Stars after taking a pretty big loss to Seattle. Like, it's just very
that's a good series. I saw a guy yesterday walking around with a Seattle hat. I thought, damn, that looks good. That S.
It does.
It's funny how when the team starts going good in the playoffs, all of a sudden the merch, the logo starts looking good. The crowd starts looking good. The players start looking good. Winning, it puts you in style. That's what's happening with the Kraken.
Absolutely.
We're at 2-2 today as we're taping.
That's right, 2-2, and it's as even as the number suggests. It's looked like both games are a toss up. You don't know who's going to show up more, and being at home, being away, it just, yeah, just a little bit of a we will see. It's a we'll see type of contention there. So we'll
Yeah.
see. We'll see where that leads to. So that's pretty much what the second round looks like. You got Vegas, Edmonton, which if we're going to start giving out predictions, I think Edmonton's going the whole way. I think the only team that can stop Edmonton is themselves. That's the only team that can stop the Oilers. If they keep choking up bad rebounds from bad goaltending, which I think Campbell should be the guy going forward, in my opinion. A little bit of a hot take. I think Campbell, although he's came in when they needed him, and he's played pretty decent. They've got to cut the minutes played by Darnell Nurse. He is a giveaway machine, and he is kind of useless in front of the net. Those passes just go flying through him. Seriously, it's very bad. It's hard to watch. He's just getting hosed in his own end. And his offensive capability is being completely outshined by Bouchard. So you keep Bouchard on the ice, you keep Ekholm on the ice, and he's great. He's been nothing short of fantastic. He's been amazing. I'd honestly argue one of the best defensemen in Edmonton Oilers history, just based on what he's had to put up with, and what matchups he's had to deal with. But yeah, I think Edmonton takes it, but I wouldn't be in any way surprised if Vegas took it, because Vegas looks great too. They're built for the playoffs. They have everything you need. So,
well, big thing about the playoffs for me is it's a fresh cup champion, right?
Right.
Like if you look at the last 20 years or so, all those teams are out. The last team to win it was Carolina, 2006. And then I think that, Dallas was 99, but all the other teams, they haven't won forever or else never won, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting. It makes it really unpredictable too. And I'm looking at two things, the skill, obviously, but also the intangibles, how those two things match up. Like you might have the skill like the Leafs, but you don't have the intangibles, which Seattle and Florida, they're playing with that desire that they really want it. They don't want to be beaten, So that's the thing that I'm watching for, and it's been pretty exciting so far.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of people, if they were making extra brackets, the like joke bracket, the funny bracket, the crazy bracket would be putting Florida and Seattle in the finals. But I mean, based on how both those teams are looking, it looks like they very well could be the teams to do it. But you can't take away credit from those other matchups, which, Carolina and New Jersey, those are two teams that if Florida or the Leafs, if they somehow pull it out, if they end up facing off against those two, you're going up against another Boston. You're going up against another like huge, like Colorado, like just a huge, very competitive playoff experience team. Both Devils obviously don't have as much experience, but if they're gonna play anything like how they're playing right now, they're going to look like that powerhouse that they were during the season. And on the other end, I feel like I don't know who matches up well against Vegas or Edmonton. I think both those teams are just a little bit of miles above Seattle and Dallas. But at the same time, I thought Colorado was miles above Seattle. So you really never know. It's just kind of whatever team works harder. I think basically the best observation you can make about this is NHL playoffs are the most unpredictable, exciting thing on earth. When it comes to the NBA, when it comes to MLB, when it comes to like the shocking, the upsets and the shocks come a lot less.
There's less in
way
football
less likely.
Too, right?
Yeah,
there's less in football.
Like you could predict the Super Bowl in football by the second week, and 9 times out of 10 you get it right, because it's just you can tell who is just a miles above.
Well, you got to love the Leafs for what they're providing. The Leafs is better than pretty much any HBO show right now.
Yes.
They're down 3-0 after they just won their first round. So that is just the gift that keeps on giving for any hockey fan. I feel for Leafs fans because that is a wild ride. But they, no matter what happens with them, they'll be fun to watch.
Yeah, it'll be huge. This Leafs fan base, they deserve it. The way they played against Tampa, although if we're being honest, if you watch the games, 4 out of the 6 games, they were pretty well dominated, even if they took the win out. But that's where, like you said about intangibles, and that's where your stars come to show, is that even if your team's not playing that well, your stars, they still come to play, and they still find a way to score, and they still find a way to be helpful to a team. So yeah, pretty remarkable that they found a way to beat Tampa. Tampa looks like, and I'm hoping this is true, they look like their time is coming. I'm praying Please. I'm sick
To
of seeing
make
them
room for
succeed.
Montreal, you mean? Or
Correct.
there
Yeah.
you
Because
go.
I'm not worried about the Sens. I'm not worried about Detroit. I'm not worried about
Oh, there you go.
Buffalo. I think the Habs will be on their level, if not better, by this year. But
Woo!
yeah, oh yeah, a little bit of hot take. But Tampa's the one we got to get out of the way because I can't see the Leafs unless the Leafs. By the way, if the Leafs get swept, somebody's gone.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna, you just have to. You can't be in the cup contention window for 6 to 7 years and have one round to show for it, and which you never won a game in the second round, right? So if you get swept,
Yeah.
there's got to be changes. I think the coach and the GM are the first to go, and then I think you bring in a new GM and a new coach. Let the coach go through the players a little bit, and by the deadline, make a decision on one of those stars because you clearly there's too many cooks in the kitchen. Everybody's talking about trading Nylander. Nylander's your only guy who's doing shit when it going gets tough. Matthews is in disappearing act. So is Marner, and Marner just can't seem to put it together when it gets tough. Tavares, I don't blame. I think his responsibility. A lot of people point at him because he's not scoring. I don't think his whole responsibility is just scoring. I do think he has more two-way ability than the rest of those guys. In my opinion, at least when I'm watching, it looks like he's out there and he's getting in the tough areas. I don't see that for Matthews and Marner. Some of their D-men too are just their defensive faults are crazy in the NHL. Like you can't be making these type like Jake McCabe, great hitter, but he has made some horrible decisions on that blue line. So yeah, I would love to see the Leafs come back and beat them out. I think that would be the best thing for this franchise to deal with because not only did you get out of the first round, you made a monumental historical comeback to go to the semifinals, which even if you lose in the semis, you're proud of that.
They got their chance to win one game tonight and then see how it goes.
That's right.
So what about the BCIHL? Are you missing the teams or what like how is the dust settling for the season for you?
It's interesting. It seems like they've had some obviously big players. We went over it last episode. They've got some big players that are leaving, unfortunately, but they brought in a lot, and in the Vikes. Yeah, sorry to clarify, the Vikes. They've had a lot more guys that they added too. Some of these guys added to the list of players that we brought in I did not know about. So clearly, there's some more work being done.
There's been some more new committed players. Is that how the Vikes say it? Commits. There's been some more new players, even since our interview with Coach Dylan a month ago or whatever. And, there's a lot of junior A talent. There's even some WHL pedigree in there too.
Ooh.
The Vikes they're on a mission. It looks like to me they're signing a lot of players, a lot of depth, a lot of goalies, local players from far away. They're on a roll. And how can you blame them? They had that taste of being so close in the playoff there in that tight series versus the Mariners.
Yep. Yeah. So that'll be they're up and coming because they have a lot of great young talent, but they're still going to be there. They got Gattenby. He's going to be just primed and ready. He just had a great season. He's been all over it. Had some great exhibition performances too. This is a guy who's just seasoned in this BCIHL league, and he is just going to be flying out there.
Yeah, especially with Morton graduating from the Mariners. Gattenby now is he's the captain of the island.
Yep, that's right.
But, they have some other defensemen coming in here for the Vikes. Owen Evers, he's coming in from the Cougars. Marco Tokic from the Predators. Kyle Crew is coming in from the Winkler. Now, Winkler, that's in the MJHL. That's junior A. So that's the local junior A team is the Grizzlies, right?
Right.
So that's a step up even from junior B.
Beautiful.
Crew with the Winkler Flyers, they lost they got to the playoffs. They lost to a team that made the finals. You know what I'm saying? They had a very good team, competitive team. He's a defenseman that 21 points in 39 games. So if you're looking for anybody, it's going to be hard to replace DeGo. But if you're looking for anybody on the D side that has a bit of scoring flair, it might be this guy, Kyle Crew here. He's born in Courtenay, playing over there in that competitive league, the Winkler Flyers. So DeGo, Benger, big losses. But with Gattenby, like you're saying, they're shoring up their defense nice and quick here with these guys. Marco Tokic, too, for the Preds. They went all the way to the finals, VI.
Excited to see him, yeah.
He's pretty tough. He's a rough player. And he's just not shy. So they're coming along good there. What else are you seeing here on the Vikes here?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely excited to see that Talkic guy. There was a little bit of a breakdown, not much of a breakdown, but when we had Coach Dillon here, he was saying, like you just said, he's a tough guy. He's a guy who makes it hard to play against, and that's something that they wanted to become more of,
Right.
just harder to play against, because that's exactly what the Mariners were. But yeah, no, a guy like Talkic, I'm excited. Evers, I'm excited for most of those defenseman. Schofield, I've heard some things. I've seen a couple clips too on YouTube. He's looks good.
Oh, nice.
These are guys that you want to come flying in. As you can see, there's a couple guys at the bottom there too. Eric Clark and Hunter Tarves. So those are two goalies. This goaltending situation is going to be even more of a toss up this year. It was more solidified, right? It not solidified, but it was more of like a 1A, 1B situation throughout the season with Pilon and Drapeau, but maybe that can change this year. We don't know. So that'll be a very interesting thing to see going down the line, what they go for in terms of goalies.
Yeah, a lot of goalies coming into the season, into the tryouts.
Yep.
Right?
That's right.
Yeah, look, let's just keep doing rapid fire.
Yeah, let's just keep hitting it.
I remember the coach said, I wish the season started sooner rather than later. Remember, they're fired up.
Oh, yeah.
Here, let's talk about Booker Daniel. That's one of their new commitments there. This guy, he's still playing because the Alberni Valley Bulldogs, that's Junior A. They're in the final this week against Penticton.
Oh, okay.
So they're still playing, and he's 11 goals in 35 games for Alberni. He's going to bring, along same with that guy from Dauphin, Garrett Horechka. Yeah. I'm going to have to learn how to say all these names, right?
You are.
But remember the coach saying the playoff experience, toughness and playoff experience, like that Horechka won the cup in MJHL. Right. Well, now you got Booker Daniel right there going into the finals too. So you have some guys who can do it in the crunch time here, bringing some lessons to the team. It's not like the Vikes are a young team.
Yeah.
But in the BCIHL, it'll be nice for them to have some guys who have been through some playoff battles, right?
For sure. Absolutely.
I'm looking forward to him, Booker Daniel. They're going up against Penticton. Man, that team is tough. A wagon, though.
Yep.
Penticton V's, they don't really lose much. But great season from the Bulldogs there. Booker.
Yeah. Booker.
That's a cool handle, too. That's like
Devin.
It's like a throwback.
Great. Devin Booker, he's doing great in the playoffs right now with the Suns, alongside Kevin Durant. Yeah, great NBA playoff too, but not as good as hockey. It's completely predictable. I mean, based on predictions, you're looking at it, you're like,
kind of surprised to see
how we thought.
Kind of surprised to see LeBron in there, but he's amazing.
You put it. It's
crazy.
He's the guy where. Yeah, it's just like you put a guy like him in the playoffs, he's going to find a way. There's only 5 guys on that court, and he's been through it. This is a guy who's been through it. He's just seen it. He's one of the longest tenured players. He's on his way to being one of the longest tenured players. Guy's played in the league forever. You can't get it. Like, if you are any team, you could be the best team. You could be Boston Bruins. And you know what? Not a fair comparison in terms of ability, but fair comparison in the sense that they're just seasoned. Kachuk and LeBron, they're 2 guys you never want to meet up in the playoffs, in the postseason, is because they just have that. They have that intangible. They show up and they find a way to bring their team up. That guys like that are the guys you could put with anyone, and they'll find a way to make those guys look better. And that's what went on against the Bruins, who are best team of all time. And that's what went on against the Grizzlies too. The Grizzlies were this up and coming team with talent all over the place. They gave zero respect to the Lakers, and the Lakers sent them home. The Lakers beat them out. So yeah, just goes to show.
LeBron is the best athlete of my adult lifetime. He was killer when I was in high school or whatever, like he's him and probably Serena Williams. I mean, but LeBron is
Tiger.
Yeah, Tiger.
Yeah.
Hey, another one, another new commit for the Vikes is Ethan Anstey.
Oh, okay.
That's a player. He's from the SJHL, Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. I think he's BC born though. I forgot to write that down in my notes. He's coming out of Flin Flon and Melville. The thing with Flin Flon, that's a northern town in Saskatchewan, the Flin Flon Bombers.
Flin
And
Flon.
I think it's really north, like Dawson's
Cold.
Creek, or I don't know what the BC one would be. Even
Okay.
further, like Canal maybe, or they have a thing in Flin Flon called the Zoo, which is like a section of their arena where you can go sit in the zoo. I just saw that on online and it cracked me up.
Flin Flon. What a name.
Man, you got to make it out to Flin Flon this year. I think
yeah.
Ethan Anstey, he's going to add some bite.
Yeah.
That's my prediction just from looking at kind of his rundown, his stats. Flin Flon, I was going to say they've been in the finals the last couple of years. So that's a competitive, successful program there. They lost to North Battleford in the final and then Estevan the year before. But this guy, he scores a bit, but he's got a lot of PIMs. Playoff experience again, another thing that seems to be a priority for the Vikes recruiting.
You could see he also had a nice little stint there in the BCHL with Cowichan and Nanaimo there. So that's interesting. He'll definitely have a little bit of that familiarity with that BCHL, tenacity and, level of play with some of those other BCHL guys that are coming on the team. So that's very good. Very good. So that's kind of mostly everything for those new guys. I'm surprised we got through it all. But now we're going to move on to something with the NHL. Definitely pique a little bit of interest of the fans here. Everybody who knows the game of hockey is going to be thinking about this. Monday, we had the lottery for the NHL draft. Yeah. And to most people's surprise, Chicago, not mine, by the way. I had a feeling Chicago would be one of the teams to get it. I just felt like, just based on the odds, like it would not surprise me if it was, you know what I mean? He goes to Chicago. Number 2 was the Ducks, so they'll likely get Fantilli. Number 3 is the Columbus Blue Jackets, so that is going to help them getting a number 3 pick in this deep draft. Columbus is a team that since they had such a bad season last year, people think they're hopeless. They're a couple moves away from being scary with the combination.
Columbus believer.
I am. I'm one of the few, not many exist, because people think there's an effort level problem, which I don't blame them for. They got Patrick Laine and they got Goudreau, who to me are some of the most dynamic talent in the league. They're one of those guys, though, where if you can see there's a little bit of a lack of effort, they're useless. They don't help at all. They just float. But if they can get them going, Werenski comes back. He was injured all season. One of my favorite defensemen on earth, Zach Werenski, great American D. As soon as he comes back, some of these up-and-coming prospects start to get a little bit more familiar. This is a team that could be really, really knocking at the door in the Metro. So I don't know if they're in the Metro. I think Central, maybe, whatever. They get number 3, and then at number 4, it was, if I'm not mistaken, the Sharks. I think the Sharks got number 4 in the draft, which will also be good for them. They'll probably get, Leo Carlson. If Columbus doesn't pick him, he's a really good Swedish forward, fast, good shot, decent, just decent all around offensive guy. And Swedish players tend to be hard workers too, so you always got that upside. And number 5 is the Habs. We get number 5.
Nice.
Praying we'll get someone like Mishkov or Will Smith. I think those are 2 guys that'll likely get picked earlier because they're just so solid. But Will Smith is like a just barely over 6 foot centerman, dynamic, fast, good offensive guy. He kind of reminds me of like a Nico Hischier, just kind of scary in the ozone at all times. He wears number 2 as a forward, which I've never seen.
Oh, that's cool.
It looks cool. I mean, you can't wear number 2 on the Habs, unfortunately, because, just about every single digit number is retired. Yeah. The only one that's still available is 8 and 6. So tough there. But, what
about 222? That way, because Caulfield is 22.
There you go. They could add another 2. Maybe he'll be the first. Yeah. I don't know.
Triple twos. That's a cool handle.
Oh, that would be pretty cool. I could see that getting out of hand quick. You know what I mean? But yeah, so that's the top 5.
I got a question for you.
Hit me.
How many? So Bedard is going to play in Chicago. They won like 25 games or something out of 80.
Yeah.
Yep. Which everyone says they're really bad, but that's pretty normal if you're going to get the first pick, right?
Right. Oh, yeah.
So how many points does he get next year, do you think? Like how long, like, does he get 100 points next year?
I am comfortable saying he'll get about 60 points around there. I think that's where he'll be. I don't think he has that great of a supporting cast with him right now. He's got a lot of younger guys definitely coming up that will be good. But the fact that they got rid of Doc, which I can't explain. I don't know why they got rid of Kirby Doc. He would have been a perfect guy to put on his wing. Not that he'd be, the highest potential of a winger that a guy like Bedard could have, but he'd be a great start. A 6'5" guy who's very young and up and coming, but has still more experience than Bedard. He could protect him. Like, it would have just made perfect sense. But luckily for the Habs, we got a hold of Kirby Doc, so that's great. But yeah, I think Bedard will get 60 points just by himself. I think if he didn't, I'd be very surprised. If he was more in the 40 point range, that's probably more realistic for some people's standards. But I still think just how elite his edges are and how dynamic he is, it'll be easy for him to put up a quick 60, set up a couple players. Maybe he can wake Seth Jones up, at least offensively, because he's so bad defensively. So, I mean, hopefully he can wake up the defensive side.
Well, McDavid in his rookie season was injured. He missed a bunch of time. Remember, he got body checked into the boards and separated his shoulder or something. I think Bedard's going over 100 for sure.
Ooh,
way more than 60. He's going over 100. Chicago will sign somebody. I heard today on the Jeff Merrick show. Who did they throw out? Bertuzzi, free agent, and even Ryan O'Reilly, someone like that, older. They will back him up a little bit with someone like that. Bedard will get 100 points, no problem. The only thing is, how long will it take for the team to turn it around? If you look at the number one picks over the years, just because your number one pick is a hit doesn't mean the team is going to turn around. Look at the Maple Leafs, Oilers. Even Ovechkin took a dozen years or whatever. So
that's right.
That part of it is not totally in Bedard's control. Although, Crosby drafted 2004. He won first cup 5 years after that. Hard to know. But I think Bedard is going to – I think he can score in the NHL tomorrow.
Yeah, you think? I think he could, but I do know for sure that – and by the way, one thing that really helps Bedard is, and every single person who's played with him or played around him has said this, is the guy's lifted weights like a bodybuilder since he was like 13. Like, this is a guy who has tree trunk legs. He's not the big, like, if he never put this effort into being a heavy lifter, he would be a scrawny player. Like, he'd be a Johnny Gaudreau type, but because he's just grinded and he eats clearly a lot and he's pushing weight up all the time, he's
some hidden strengths.
Oh, he's rock hard. He's huge, right? So that'll help him, and that'll help him in the league for sure. He'll look strong. He'll be able to break out quick, just like McDavid. Like, he'll just be simply faster than you, and he'll beat you off that way. But the thing is there is players in the NHL like the Pat Maroons, like the Bertuzzis, like the Marchands, like the Jack guys, like the Ryan Reeves, where their goal isn't hockey. Where Bedard has been around since when you're in minor league, you're playing around guys who are, their whole identity is, I want to be a good hockey player. I want to display to scouts that I can be translatable in any system. Well, there's players in the NHL who don't need to do that. They want to kill you, and they want to make it hard for you. And especially when a new kid comes in and he thinks he can wheel around guys, there's going to be players who are not thinking about the puck. They're going to think about hurting him. So it's all about, can he find a way to avoid that? Which, to me, I think he can, because he's played in the IIHF. I feel like it's a little bit of a weird comparison to make, but I'll try to make sense of it. In the IIHF, when he was playing last winter, when he was doing any highlight goal, any highlight scenario that he pretty much created on his own, or any star display that he was putting on the ice, he was avoiding hits. And he's avoiding hits against guys who play with men. He's playing guys from Finland and Sweden, and and from the Czech and from Slovakia and all these different places where they play in leagues with men. They play in leagues with fully grown men. Right. Yeah, sure, they're not the caliber of NHL players, but the fact there were so many times where I'm seeing him skate and I'm like, oh crap, Bedard could get killed here. Oh, nope, he's simply so agile and so fast. He just he uses the guy who's trying to hit him as almost like a pick for him to create more space. Like he's got that McDavid level skating. I'd give him a leg up on the edges. I think less speed, more edges, like the way that Bedard can flow side to side and move quickly. And it's something I haven't seen since Braden Point, like just so smooth, so great. I even think like a touch of Barzal. So McKinnon as well, just one of those guys where it's tough to hit him and you put yourself out of the play by trying to hit a guy like that. But my worry is like kind of how that McDavid injury happened, where he finds himself along the board trying to pick a puck out and some guy just crunch, and you're just not used to that. You're just not going to be used to that. So hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how Bedard translates to the NHL. I got one more theory for you before we wrap this up. Okay, Toronto, Matthews and Marner, they're down 3-0. They can't quite get over the hump, right?
Yeah.
McDavid's hanging in there. He's doing his best.
He is.
They're looking good, but they're down 2-1 as we're taping this too.
That's right.
This generation here of stars trying to get over the hump. There's not many younger players who have come in, and even Pasternak. Anyway, one of my theories is the lack of the international play, the Olympics. These guys haven't been to them, right? There's been no Olympics. There's been the COVID virus. No World Cups, really. It's a bit of a lost opportunity for Matthews and McDavid to play with Kane and Crosby and go up and learn those lessons.
Yep.
That's just a little bit of an insider hot take for you there. Like, they don't know, they haven't been mentored by any champs yet.
Yeah, you're right.
They're doing it all on their own. So they're the leaders now without having been shown the way a little bit.
Yeah, the NHL has been missing best on best since 2010. They had something similar to it with the World Cup of Hockey in 2016 or 17, where they had the North American team.
Yeah.
And which, by the way, we loved. That was fun to watch. Oh, because you had McDavid and Matthews on the same team. Like, that doesn't need to happen, but there needs to be best on best. And I like how you said mentored, because I think you're right. I think there's certain cups that aren't won by certain players if they didn't go to the Olympics and just retain some of the knowledge, that because there's no other environment other than like drinking in the off season. There's no, or the All-Star game or the award shows where you can get together with these best players that you look up to and pick their brain. Yeah, you could text them, you could find a way, get in contact, but like you said, the best way to mentor them is to play that 16-game tournament or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And just feel what it, and the importance is there. Every game is beyond a playoff game. People would much rather bring a gold medal home over the Stanley Cup any day. It's just true. It's such a history thing, and it's not even a team. It's your country. That's a country thing. That's so huge. It's like the World Cup, right? So yeah, it's sad. They need to figure it out a way. And the biggest problem, and literally the whole reason comes from, is it started from Stamkos and John Tavares. Those are two players who got injured for like really bad injuries at the Olympics. So their team was now screwed. So the NHL was like, listen, we want the Olympic to give us some compensation if that happens. But the Olympics is like, no. So I think what needs to happen, and I'm pretty sure it's impossible, but I think the NHL needs to run it. They got to find a way to run it so that if there is any liabilities, they can just cover it themselves.
Right on. I like the Vikes are bringing in some experience, some winning experience from quality programs. I like the additions. I'm fired up to see the Vikes. We'll have to do another one. What do you think, Reese? Are we shutting it down here for this episode?
Yeah, we'll shut it down here, but we'll catch you guys on social media and maybe an episode next week. So yeah, stay posted, everyone.
Right on to the new Vikes.
Let's go.
Go Oilers.
Go Oilers. Let's go.
I love Sean. Alors on danse.